Welcome to English Journey. My name is Michael. If English disappears the moment someone looks at you and waits for an answer, this video is for you. You don't freeze because you're bad at English. You freeze because no one ever explained what's really happening in your mind when you speak. Let's fix that. You're in a conversation. You understand the question. You know you can speak English. But suddenly your mind goes blank. Words disappear. Your body tightens. And for a few seconds, you freeze. This moment is one of the most frustrating experiences for English learners. Not because you don't know English, but because it feels like your English abandons you when you need it most. There are three main reasons this happens, and once you understand them, freezing stops feeling mysterious and starts feeling manageable. The first reason you freeze is because your brain switches from communication mode into survival mode. When someone speaks to you in English, your brain has to do several things at once. It must understand the words, think of a response, choose the right structure, and pronounce it correctly. If you also add fear into that moment, your brain becomes overloaded. Fear of making a mistake. Fear of sounding foolish. Fear of being judged. The moment fear enters, your brain treats the situation like a threat. And when the brain feels threatened, it doesn't focus on language. It focuses on protection. This is why your thoughts suddenly disappear. It's not because you forgot English. It's because your brain is trying to keep you safe. Freezing is not failure. It's a stress response. When you stop seeing freezing as proof that you're bad at English, the pressure reduces. And when pressure reduces, your brain regains access to the language you already know. The second reason you freeze is because you're trying to think in full sentences before you speak. Many learners don't speak ideas. They try to speak perfect sentences. So instead of letting words come naturally, they build the sentence silently in their head. They check grammar. They check word order. They check tense. And while they're doing all this, the conversation moves on. By the time they're ready to speak, the moment has passed. So they stay silent. And the next time, they freeze even faster. Conversation doesn't reward perfection. It rewards movement. When you stop trying to think in complete sentences and start thinking in simple ideas, your mind stays flexible. You can begin speaking even if the sentence isn't finished yet. This keeps the conversation alive and keeps your brain engaged instead of frozen. The third reason you freeze is because you're judging yourself while the conversation is still happening. You start speaking and halfway through, you think, that was wrong. Or, I sound stupid. Or, they didn't understand me. That internal judgment pulls your attention away from the conversation and back onto yourself. Your confidence drops instantly. Your voice weakens. And sometimes, you stop speaking completely. Freezing often happens after this moment of self-judgment. Confident speakers are not confident because they never make mistakes. They are confident because they don't stop themselves mid-thought. They let sentences finish. They stay present. They allow imperfection without panic. When you stop evaluating yourself in real time, your speech flows more naturally. Even if a sentence isn't perfect, it feels complete. And completion is what prevents freezing. Freezing in English conversation is not a sign of low ability. It's a sign of high pressure. The more pressure you put on yourself to perform, the more your brain resists. But when you lower the emotional stakes, your English comes back. If you remember one thing, remember this. You don't freeze because you lack English. You freeze because you're trying to control it too tightly. Let go a little. Speak imperfectly. Stay present. And slowly, the freeze disappears. You don't freeze in English because you don't know what to say. You freeze because you're trying to say it in the wrong way. Most English learners translate in their head before they speak. They hear something in English, convert it into their native language, think of a response, and then translate that response back into English. All of this happens in a few seconds, under pressure, while someone is waiting for you to reply. That mental process is exhausting. And when your brain gets overloaded, it shuts down. That shutdown is what you experience as freezing. Translation feels safe because it gives you control. It feels like you're checking your answer before you speak. But in real conversations, translation is too slow. Conversation moves faster than logic. It requires instinct, not calculation. When you translate, you're not really speaking. You're decoding. And decoding uses a different part of the brain than natural speech. The more you rely on translation, the harder it becomes to respond spontaneously. This is why you might speak well in writing or practice, but freeze in real conversations. Writing gives you time. Conversation does not. Another reason translation causes freezing is because languages don't match perfectly. Sentence structures are different. Expressions don't align. So while you're searching for an exact English version of your thought, your brain gets stuck between two systems. You feel the idea clearly, but you can't find the sentence. That gap creates panic. And panic blocks speech. Fluent speakers don't translate thoughts. They translate meaning. They don't ask, "How do I say this in English?" They ask, "What do I want to express?" Then they let the simplest words come. When you stop translating and start thinking in ideas, your English speeds up naturally. Even if the sentence isn't perfect, it moves forward. Movement is what keeps your brain engaged. Stillness is what creates freezing. There's also an emotional cost to translation. Every time you translate, you judge your English before you speak it. You decide if it's good enough, correct enough, native enough. That judgment adds pressure. Pressure creates hesitation. Hesitation creates silence. When you remove translation, you remove that judgment layer. You speak first, adjust later. This keeps your confidence intact and your mind active. Learning to stop translating doesn't mean thinking in perfect English. It means allowing broken, simple, incomplete English to exist without fear. That permission is what unlocks flow. At first, speaking without translation feels uncomfortable. You may feel exposed. You may feel like your English is too simple. But simplicity is not weakness. Simplicity is speed. And speed prevents freezing. The goal is not to sound impressive. The goal is to stay present in the conversation. When you let go of translation, you stop fighting the moment. And when you stop fighting, your English stops freezing. Your English was never missing. It was just stuck behind control. Let go of the control, and speech returns.